Good afternoon, everybody. This is Hunter Mozingo bringing you your daily market insight video here on Monday, May 23rd, about 15 minutes after market close in Jacksonville, Florida, for 16 p.m. Eastern time to be approximate. And today we're going to be looking at a multitude of key levels on the S&P 500 that you need to be aware of as we are battling it out down in this range, basically between 3,800 and 4,200 on the S&P 500. That's something that we're going to talk about in depth here in just a moment. First, let's talk about what just happened. Markets follow through after Friday's end of day rally off the lows. So performance wise, G6 up a little under 1%, S&P up nearly 2%, QQQ up 1.66%, Dow up about 2%, mid and small caps up slightly over 1, 60-40 up 0.8, and Grotection up 0.39. So market state-wise, we have no change. It is still correction. However, this is day 2 off low. We're using Friday, that new low we made, and then the rally into the end of the day. This is the second day off of that new low we made. Market state-wise, there are no changes here either. This stays the same. We're not back above the 21 EMA, the 50, the 200. All of that still remains the same, and many market leaders still look pretty abysmal, although with some of the action today possibly working on trying to improve their current conditions. Moving along here, I'm going to quickly highlight Revere and my email here. If you have any questions on the video, you want to know something about a specific level that I mentioned on the S&P, about a specific stock, don't hesitate to send me an email and ask me a question. Or if you're interested in what Revere does, what our strategy is, how we manage money, how we make decisions, etc., you can email me or anybody here, Dan, Tim, Merrill, or Don at revereasset.com as well. So let's get to the tail of the tape here. And I do have the S&P 500 over here on the right. We're going to move through this pretty quickly. So put call actually down a little bit from the last couple of days to the last week or so. Started around 0.9-ish and kind of crept its way up and closed at 1 today. VIX down slightly back below that 30 level to 28.4, and the fear greed up just a tiny bit, up 3 points, but still in the extreme fear reading. News-wise, JP Morgan had some positive comments on return on equity, guidance, some stuff that are kind of walking back or having some positive changes to some stuff that they said earlier in the year. What were we watching today? What would the S&P do versus this resistance level here, 39.40, 39.50, and the support level here, 38.50, 38.60? Didn't make it to the support level, but butted our head up against 39.50 and ultimately pushed through as notated here. Action-wise, opened up 0.8% from 10 a.m. to about 12. We trend up off the low to 39.81. We base, we come up and tag 39.81 again on the S&P, and then pull back a little bit into the close, but get a nice bounce. So I'm going to show you a 5-minute here on the S&P 500 to kind of show you what we're talking about. So this is from 10 roughly up to about 12. We go to 39.81, pull back / base in the middle of the day, tag 39.81 again, and then kind of pull back a little bit into the close, but we finish relatively decent here on the S&P. So we're going to pull back the tail of the tape, pull it back up here, continue to move through this. Overnight range 39.14, 39.57, open at 39.32, opening 30, 39.16 to 39.49, and the low of the day 39.09, high of the day 39.81. Notes wise, this is something that's important because this does not happen very often at all. Number of straight weeks down, S&P and the NASDAQ down 7 in a row. That has only happened just a little bit in the history of the market. The Dow down 8 weeks in a row, something that does not happen very often. So that's why we got this on the screen for you here. Notes wise, or performance wise, excuse me. I know we went through this already, but S&P opened 0.8, closed up almost 1.9, G6 up about 1, 60-40 up 0.8, Grotection up 0.39 today. Sector-wise, fertilizers, coal, shippers, banks, and oils all very nicely strong today. USO down a little bit, bonds, the dollar down big. We're going to look at that in a second. Semiconductors struggled and home builders struggled as well. Portfolio-wise, our beta just slightly increased from a 0.2 to a 0.3. We sold SSO into this initial 39.50 resistance. We're going to look at that in just a second. We bought IVV, which is also an S&P 500 ETF, as that 39.50 resistance flipped to support. So bottom line from today, bounce continues, the gap up held, and S&P above that 39.50 resistance. So we're going to move through this quickly here, but declining 50-day now at 42.98, declining 21 EMA now at 40.76. These continue to move down pretty sharply. Today's close, 39.74, bounce continues, gap holds, decent close. This is the close from Friday, that positive reversal off the 38.10 support. So now let's talk about some key levels. And we're going to do this first, and then we're going to get into the charts of everything else. So we're going to talk about the S&P 500 specifically here, and we're going to try and move through this as nicely and quickly as we can. So Don talked about this in a good bit of depth on Friday, this 38.2% Fibonacci retracement from the COVID low to this recent high, 4818.62, comes out to be 3815.2, which is what Don has highlighted here. So you've got that big fib that's pretty much right where we bounced at. The actual low on the S&P or the SPX was 3810.32. So this is a huge level, call it 3810 to 3815. Even 3800 in general is a big level moving forward, obviously, because that's right by that Friday low. But this is kind of the start of the levels we're going to work through here, okay? So we're going to pull up the S&P chart here, working off that 38.2% retracement, which is right here at 3815. That's pretty much right where we bounced on Friday. Next big level ahead, 3900 on SPX. That is going to be right here where we closed on 519 and 520. So that is spot on pretty much right where we closed on 519 and 520. On here on 512, we had a big undercut and reclaim of that level, but 3900 acted a little bit as a battleground area prior to making this low on Friday. So that's the next big level. We closed on that on Friday, and we stayed above that today. Low of the day, 3909. Next big level, 3950. We talked about it a little bit in the tail of the tape, and here's what we're going to look at here. So I'm going to pull up the S&P on a 1 minute just to highlight this. So this is a 1 minute chart of the S&P encompassing the whole day. And this is the first attempt at 3950 this morning. Here is the second attempt, which looked like it was going to fail as well. But ultimately, some support is found here, and this continues on. But this is where we sold SSO this morning into this failed attempt, what looked to be the second failed attempt of the day to clear 3950. Then we added back that IBV, the S&P 500 exposure, when we saw 3950 flip to support, as you can see here looking across the chart. Once we cleared it, you can see where it acts as support here as the day went along. So 3950, a big level. And what else does that correspond to? That corresponds to the highs roughly of these last 2 days as well, both around 3945, a big level to clear. Ultimately, we were able to do that on the S&P. Above that, you have 3984, which if you look all the way to the left of the chart, it's something we've been talking about on the tail of the tape. 3984, the March 2021 breakout pivot, another level of resistance / support. And that's basically the high of today, 3982. This is a next big level to watch. So 3980 / this 4,000 area. 4,000, a big psychological level to reclaim. I think everybody can kind of see that. This was a level that it tried to battle around and fight for here for the better part of about 2 weeks, and ultimately it lost that level, but now possibly aiming to potentially reclaim that level. So we already talked about moving averages. You can see the 80 MA on the S&P 3972, so we did squeeze out a close above. So that is a little feather in the cap for the S&P there. Moving along on the levels here, the last one we mentioned, 3980 and the 4,000 level. Now we're going to talk about the 4050 and the to 4070 range. Again, another level we've been talking about on the tail of the tape, a recent support and resistance level. And you can see right here, we were battling all around this 4050 to 4070 range. As you can see here, trying to stay above it is a big support level. High of this day, 4040. High of this day here, 4046. So another big level, next big level to get through after 4,000, 4,050. You've also then got the 4,100 range, which is going to correspond to about this low on 224. So you've got the 4,100 level, which corresponds almost to the low of 224, as well as the 517 high. Let me pull this up for you here. Sorry, this is what I meant to mention on the last one right here. So you got 4,100, the high of this day, 4090, the low of 224, 4114, big potential level to reclaim. And then as we've been talking about on the tail of the tape as well, 4160 to 4200, a big support and resistance level on the S&P. And what we're gonna look at here is the 124 low, right around 4,200, as you can see there. Then from this range here, 3.7 to 3.15, we battled all around this 4160 to 4,200 range and ultimately saw that act as support. And then in this range here, we battled all around this 4,200 level again, ultimately to lose it and see this level give way to making new lows here. So a big, big level on the S&P. And the most important thing here that we haven't talked about as much is that 38.2% retracement is right here at 38.15. The 23.6% retracement is right here at 4198.7 on the S&P. So two very big levels kind of encapsulating where we're trapped between roughly on the S&P here. 4,200 to 3,800 roughly is that area. That specific 23.6% retracement fib on the S&P 500 is 4198.7. So let's move through the rest of the indices here and don't take up too much time. QQQ attempting to get back above the 8 EMA, but one of the weaker of the indices, still unable to do that, but looking for this to clear 295 as well as the highs of these last 2 days. It needs to get above 294.39 here, but that's what I'm looking for. It's at a big spot here, possibly. If it can clear these highs with some power, that might give the Qs some juice there. Let's go to the Dow first. DIA back above the 8 just ever so slightly. Again, acting relatively well, better than the Qs, as you can see, actually back above the 8 EMA. And you're going to see this again on the IWM, actually poking its head and closing above the 8 EMA, again holding up where it needed to hold up, right around this 175-ish area, which corresponds to some of the lows from last week. And MDY, same kind of situation here, actually able to kind of close right on the 8-day to poke its head slightly above it. So the Qs continue to be a lagging index. They've obviously been the weakest this year, and that kind of has continued to play out here. We'll see if that changes in the coming future here. We also had TLT down today. We talked about bonds being down, but TLT down, which means that the 10-year yield, TNX, is just going to be hanging out right here around this 21 EMA. We'll see what happens, but we're watching to see if this is able to power through and potentially continue higher, or does this do the yields or the rates come off a little bit here? But we also saw the dollar continue to roll over and be down a decent bit today. UUP down 1%. That's a decent move for the dollar. You can see this has been a pretty sharp move from here on the 13th to here on the dollar. So obviously that helps stocks out a little bit as well. Moving forward here, oil stocks, some of the strongest looking charts of the day. We do own FCG, which is a natural gas and oil ETF. A lot of big oil names in here, and some of the ones that had a big day today. Also, some of the top holdings in here, like EQT and AR, really helped that ETF have a nice day today, up nearly 5%. Other oil names, XLE, these are ETFs, also having good days today. XOP up about 3.5%, 4%. So oil strong and remained strong as the day went on. Shippers also having a nice day. ZIM up about 7.5%, 8%. SBLK, Starbulk Carriers up about 5%. So these names continue their strength as well from the last week. CF trying to reclaim its key levels. These fertilizers all up about 5 to 6% today. But a nasty looking candle on Friday, trying to negate that to some degree today. NTR also up about 5%. MOS also up about 5%. A couple more here. Apple and Microsoft. I've been talking in exhaustion about these, but these big heavyweight names actually much outperformed the indices today. So Apple up 4%, That's helping the indices as opposed to being a drag on it. And Microsoft, same situation, up 3.2, whereas the indices were up about 1.5 to 2%. So those big heavyweights actually working in the favor of the indices today. Changing character to the last couple of weeks. Bros, a recent gap down, but big time strength today, up 15%. This chart is still broken. Really nothing to do with it now, but just noting the big relative strength today over most other growth stocks and most stocks in general. Big day for Bros, but keep in mind, coming off the back of a really nasty sell-off there on the earnings reactions. AMR and Arch both up nicely today. AMR up about 11, Arch up about 7 or 8, excuse me, up about 4. But this coal area, very strong today. Nice moves out of all these names as they continue to hold up and have constructive looking charts, as you can see. And then sector wise, just a couple to highlight here. Metals and mining having a pretty solid day, and staples also having a pretty good day on a sector basis, even though they had a nasty sell off, as well as financials, which also look pretty terrible, but again, having a good day today. So some positive days for some sectors that have really been beat up, but some other areas not so lucky. Broadcom continues to struggle here after breaking the 200-day moving average on some news that they're trying to buy out another company, but not the prettiest chart here from one of the stocks that looked like it was one of the better looking stocks up until these last couple of days here, the last 4 or 5 trading days. As you can see, ON semiconductor name as well that we were watching ended up finishing okay, but down about 1% on a day where the Qs were up over 1.5. A couple of more here. Datadog, a weak name today, when the G6 up 1%, QQQ up 1.5, 1.6, and you've got Datadog still down 1%. A couple more names here. Dow, a chemical name, slightly weak today, down about 1%. We talked about semiconductors struggling a little bit today. You can see lagging the indices. A couple more here. ITB also struggled today pretty much all day long, down about 0.5%. And then crypto ended up giving back a lot of its positive action from today. As you can see, BITO from 19 to closing back down at 18, right near the lows of the day. So Bitcoin / cryptocurrency not really feeling much of the love recently. So that is going to wrap up today's video. If you have any questions about any of those key levels, you can ask me or you can ask Don. But I just wanted to give you those key levels in there between 3,800 and 4,200, just kind of the battleground that we're in right now on the S&P 500. So thanks everybody for listening. I'll see you on Thursday's video as well as the podcast this week. So have a good one, everybody.